One of my favorite books of all time is With the Old Breed by Eugene Sledge. Sledge was in the 1st Marine Division, fought at Peleliu and Okinawa. And in his book, he talks about when he got into the division, hearing about something called the Goettche Patrol. And this was used as a warning about how the Japanese soldier behaved. Well, the Goettche Patrol, this was something that originated or came from the Battle of Guadalcanal. We're on Guadalcanal right now. We've been kind of exploring the battlefield here for the past few days. And today, we're going to take a look at what happened with the ill-fated Goettche Patrol. So right now, the spot where I'm at on Guadalcanal is right between the Guadalcanal River and a place called Point Cruz. And I'm here with the guy for the Battle of Guadalcanal, Dave Holland, who is currently writing a book on the Battle of Guadalcanal and also has the YouTube channel Guadalcanal Walking the Battlefield. And he's going to give us a little bit of a rundown of what happened with the Goettche Patrol.
So the Goettche Patrol is one of the famous or infamous patrols, or you could say small operations, especially at the beginning of the war, and throughout the war it became very famous. So Colonel Frank Goettche was the Division D2, which is intelligence officer of the 1st Marine Division. So pre-landing, he suspected there's estimated about 5,000 Japanese, 4,000 to 5,000 Japanese on the island, including the reinforced Japanese infantry regiment. That turned out to be not true. There's about 2,500 Japanese, mainly laborers, with some of their Special Naval Landing Force Guard units. So when the Marines landed, they were given orders by Captain Monson, who was actually the garrison commander, Navy Captain Monson, Japanese, to grab whatever they could, 3 days rations, the rifles, and head west toward the Guadalcanal River and dig in for the Guadalcanal. There they were to wait to a reinforcement unit to come in. So there they were dug in there. They dug in trenches, zigzag trenches, seafront and on the riverfront. The guard units. A lot of the laborers scattered to the jungles. So they were Korean laborers. They didn't have any weapons. They didn't have any food. So they were willing to surrender. And a lot of them started surrendering, especially around the airfield, to the Marines. So during the course of the surrendering, a couple was actually surrendered to the Marines. One of them was a warrant officer in the Special Naval Landing Force. So they captured this warrant officer. After interrogation, he finally revealed that, look, there's a number of Japanese willing to surrender. They're in the jungle, they're the laborers, they're starving, and they will just surrender. Well, Goettche got word of this, and he says, look, this will be the chance to rid the whole island of all the Japanese garrison. Because we didn't know exactly where they were. Goettche didn't know exactly where they were, but they knew there were a few thousand running around. This is a chance to grab them all in a bag. So what he did, he went to Vandergrift, the division commander, and said, look, I want to send a patrol up and grab these guys. Vandergrift wasn't too happy with it, but he said, look, I'll let you do it and make that decision. So Lieutenant Colonel Bill Whaling, the executive officer of the 5th Marines, a few days earlier had came up here with a patrol, and they'd tried to approach the Guadalcanal, and they received a lot of fire. And they got, he said, look, that's a hornet's nest up there, so stay away from the mouth of Guadalcanal. And he actually warned Goettche not to go to the Guadalcanal. So anyway, there was a combat patrol by First Sergeant Custer, who was the actual, and yes, he has a direct lineage to the Custer's last stand, Custer. So First Sergeant Custer is pretty switched on NCO. So what he did was he had formed a combat patrol anyway, and he was going to land on the other side of Point Cruz, go to the ridges and do a reconnaissance patrol with combat Marines. Well, Goettche, what he did, he said, well, I'll lead the patrol, and he took a lot of these combat Marines out, and he put his division and 5th Marine G2 guys in there, intelligence guys in there, including a guy called Lieutenant Ralph Corey, who, unknown to the division, was involved with the magic pre-war, or the code breaking pre-war. So he shouldn't even been in the combat zone, much less on the combat patrol. Lieutenant Commander Pratt, the regimental surgeon, was thrown in because they wanted a linguist, they wanted a surgeon, because they thought there was going to be Japanese prisoners that needed this. They threw in like lithographs and draftsmen and things like that, a lot of intel people, and took out the combat guys. They left a couple of scouts in there, but didn't take any weapons or radios. It's going to be a short patrol in and out.
I've moved down here by the shoreline, and if you look out here, so that is the area of Kokum where the Goettche Patrol is going to be setting out from, and they were supposed to be heading out this way to Point Cruz. And after they get past the Guadalcanal River, which is right over here, well, they got hung up on either a sandbar or a coral reef or something. There's been stories both ways. But anyway, the boat got hung up. And again, this is in the pre-dawn hours. And the boat driver starts revving the engine and rocking things back and forth and trying to get off of this obstacle. Well, it is creating a racket. And what they were unaware of is that they were making themselves known to every Japanese Special Naval Landing Force soldier that was right here on this side of the Guadalcanal. So they get loose, and Goettche says, just take it on in. The Japanese prisoner who was with them started freaking out and saying, no, 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 don't do it, don't do it. And they ignored him, brought them in right here, just to the other side of this fence. And just about 50 yards in, there were a bunch of zigzag trenches with a bunch of hardened Japanese soldiers from the Special Naval Landing Force just waiting for them to hit the beach.
So pre-war, where I'm standing now was the village of Guadalcanal, about 24 huts, scattered huts. So they'd landed roughly near it. And they got out. Before they got out, the Japanese prisoners started yelling and saying, no, 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 don't go here, because he knew who was actually here. You know, he said, this ain't the place to go, but they just kind of ignored him. They went in. Goettche went first with Custer and another guy with a captain. They went into the bush a short distance, shots were fired. Goettche goes down immediately with a head wound. And then Custer's wounded. They move back to the beach he says, look, Goettche's up there, we don't know what's going on. The rest of them started digging into the black sands with their helmets and bayonets. And then Sergeant Few and Sergeant Arndt went forward, engaged the Japanese there, and they moved back, and the rest of them dug in. So throughout the night, the Japanese was firing on them. They were firing back. There's a number of Marines sent back to get help, and one died at the mouth of Guadalcanal. He didn't get back. One, Sergeant Arndt, made it back, and a guy called Spalding, or I think it's Spalding, I have to double check that, but three made it back, including Few. By the time the morning time come, they knew something was up, so they sent a company this way, and then the survivors started filtering back. The first two survivors said, look, you know, they're fighting, and then the last survivor was Few, says, look, there's no one left. When Few, at the end of the morning, I'll backtrack, the end of the morning, it was him, the captain and another guy left. The captain said, make a run for it. So they jumped up, started running. The captain and the other guy was shot down. Few stopped, jumped into the ocean, stripped down to his captured Japanese undershorts or shorts, and started swimming back. And then when he looked back, that was the famous, he could see, famous saying where you could see the bayonets in the sunlight, glistening sunlight, cutting up the prisoners and killing the prisoners with bayonets. And then he made his way and swam back, often going to the shore, swimming a bit to the shore, cut up bad with coral, and made it back to the perimeter to report that they're all dead.
So when the Marines finally were able to push through here, the remnants of what they found of the Goettche Patrol was the stuff of nightmares. There were men who had been hacked up with swords, men who had been just dismembered, and all kinds of terrible things that were done to them. Custer had his arms and legs cut off, and his torso was hoisted up on a pole right by the Guadalcanal River. And this was going to kind of set the tone for the rest of the Pacific War, because this story got around of what the Japanese will do to the American soldiers and sailors and Marines if they capture them. But anyway, that was a little bit about the Goettche Patrol.
Thank you.